Welcome to Beyond The Touchline. It is myself and it is Ryan this evening, and we are going to be talking mainly about the Barclays Premier League this evening, as it's been a very eventful weekend, Ryan.
It has. Crazy weekend.
Crazy weekend. We have had changes all over the place. We've had Brendan Rodgers was sacked by Liverpool yesterday, Ryan, after the Merseyside derby.
It was undecided as to whether I agree with it or not yet.
I think when you look at the lack of trophies in the 3 seasons he's been there, you can kind of see. But then you've got to say they are Liverpool. They are not Man City. They are not Man United to an extent. They are not Chelsea. They're not throwing. Well, when I say they're not throwing money at the club, they're not going to be able to compete. They've still spent a large amount. So, I mean, as you can tell just in this opening segment of discussion, Ryan, it's, as you said, it's undecided, because even halfway through my sentence, I kind of decided differently.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't doing great, and the players he's signed haven't done fantastically. You look at the defence they've got at the moment, their issues are there. Should they be beating Everton? Yes, but Everton are a team on the rise. But their football has just been kind of odd, playing players out of position. Danny Ings shoved out on the wing. Young Ibe, who's been shoved out on the wing, needs to be playing up front. Goals have been few and far between. They've lost lost one derby and not won the other. Their main derby of the season, Everton, 1-1. Should be winning. Maybe someone needs to come in and reshuffle the pack.
I mean, I genuinely think that against Everton, they didn't look too bad, Ryan.
They didn't look too bad, but I don't think they looked a powerhouse, which you've seen against Everton in the past. They didn't look like they were going to score loads. They didn't look like they were going to win the game either.
No, they definitely didn't look like they were going to score a shed load. But I think, when you look, a couple of years ago they had Suarez, they had Sterling and Sturridge, and it's now gone to Ings and Sturridge up top as the main people, with obviously Coutinho behind there. It's no disrespect to Danny Ings, but he's not the same level as Suarez. He's not even the same level as Sterling. I know they're different position, but it's still kind of that front section of the pitch. Liverpool in I don't want to say transition period. It's a really tough situation, because I don't want to jump on Rodgers and say he's failed, but then on the other side of it, when you actually start talking about Liverpool, Ryan, you can't help but think of the money that's been spent and the signings, the likes of Balotelli, who just did not do it. I would love to know whose decision it was to sign Balotelli.
I don't think it would have been Rodgers, put it that way.
It's got to be somebody's decision who didn't understand football. Because I think there was only Brendan Rodgers who was saying that Balotelli would do well. And I think everybody else in the world of football was just saying, we don't quite understand this, because you've got Sterling who... you had Sterling who was always active. You had Sturridge who was always active. You had Suarez who was always active. They were like three young kids who just run around the pitch chasing the football line, basically. And then you bring in someone like Balotelli who will just stand there and sometimes make it to the edge of the box, but apart from that, he doesn't really move.
No, it's a very strange situation. I think they just need someone to come in and shuffle pack and make things happen.
Who early stages now, Ryan, obviously. I know Klopp and Ancelotti appear to be the front runners, with reports coming out in the English media that Klopp has been contacted. The same in the German media. It's coming out this evening. Who are you thinking is going to go into the club?
I think Klopp will go in, purely because he comes from the Dortmund perspective of developing youth, and they don't have the money that Bayern Munich have in Germany. Liverpool don't have the money of Man United, Man City, Chelsea. Possibly he can develop. He isn't. He hasn't managed at the top level yet. Dortmund, yes, they got to Champions League final, but he hasn't got that repertoire of trophies. So I think he'll come in, and I don't think he'll cost the wages that Carlo Ancelotti will want.
But the question is, I mean, I know Klopp had this poor end to his career at Dortmund, but he spent so long building a side up. Does he want to go and do that again, or would he rather go into a club who kind of already has a stable footing? I mean, does he really want to go in and do what he did with Dortmund all over again?
I think it depends on him. If he goes, because there's media outlets that are saying that he's waiting to go to Bayern Munich in Germany, and if he goes there, to me that would seem cowardly, because they're already set and developed and looking like they're going to win the German league by so many points this year. Just look at their last result against Dortmund.
I think if he sits around waiting for Bayern Munich, he's going to be sat around for a long time. And I think the issue then comes up that he almost becomes the forgotten man.
Yeah, I think he's a developmental manager. He likes to go into a side, set his philosophy. We all like the word philosophy with Louis van Gaal fans. Set his ground and then develop further, possibly develop some of the youngsters, because there are some fantastic youngsters in that Liverpool academy that can come through.
I think it's definitely going to be interesting, as you said. There is some people who can come through and who Liverpool can develop. Obviously, this is major news that's happened over the weekend with Brendan Rodgers being sacked. It came, to be honest, it came as a bit of a surprise to me. I know they've not been doing brilliantly, but I really did think they would stick with him. But I guess this happens in football now. I mean, but then when you go on the other scale of it, Ryan, the other news of manager movement in the Barclays Premier League this weekend was Dick Advocat leaving Sunderland. Now, I saw quotes coming out that a relegation battle just wasn't for him at this time of his career. I mean, I'm a Newcastle fan, so it's a bit hard for me to kind of feel sorry for Sunderland, but I kind of feel like the manager's just cowered it away and just done a runner, basically.
If I'm honest, I don't know why he carried on, because there was the news that come out that he was quitting anyway before he even started this season, and decided to sign another contract. Now they're not doing very well this season, and he's just done a runner and thought, no, it's not for me. Somebody else can come in and shuffle pack again and hopefully try and change things. Well, I mean, hopefully it's not going to bother me.
I think looking from the outside, I think they need somebody like Sam Allardyce in. Obviously, former Newcastle manager, I think he's got something still to prove in the North East. And they need an English manager, or at least a manager from the UK, because I think one of Sunderland's big issues is from when Paolo Di Canio was there, they brought in a lot of unknown Italian and Southern European players, and they never settled. A lot have gone out on loan now. Some are still there and just not getting football. Then they've gone as far afield as Russia, obviously, to get them Villa in on loan, Ryan. And I just think they're kind of just trying to patch a squad together from players all over. I mean, they had Connor Wickham, a great young talent, and they sold him to Palace. It's just quite strange. They seem to have just gone around Europe trying to get players instead of focusing on putting together a side who knows how to play in the Premier League. And I think that's Sunderland's issue. So they need somebody who can come in, who can somehow, and it is somehow, because if any of the clubs want them, I'm going to be very surprised, but they need to get rid of a lot of that team and get in some British talent who know the league, know the language, know the situation, and can battle to keep them in the division.
Definitely. I think they're set to go down. I know we're early on, but their team just doesn't look Premier League standard to me.
I mean, I'm not going to shed a tear if they go down, but I think I'd rather
might be going down with them. So let's not hold your breath.
I just want to see clubs at least battle, and at the minute they're not battling, which is just frustrating to see. But we'll start running through the other games, Ryan. So the first one was the Crystal Palace 2, West Bromwich Albion 0. West Brom were terrible. They basically turned up to defend. It was such a poor game to watch. I mean, Crystal Palace were just constantly bombarding them. There was nothing. Well, I'm not going to say nothing. There was very little from West Brom going forward. The Tony Pulis is stuck with Chris Brunt on a left back line, which is something I just really don't understand, because we all know Tony Pulis loves to play with centre backs basically as a full back. Or people who are naturally a centre back who can play full back. And they had Julian Lescott, who was left footed, a very, very good, very experienced defender. They let him go to Villa. Now, I know it was his dream to go and play for his childhood club, but they seem to be missing something at the back. And Brunt at left back, he's been there for a while now, a couple of years he's been rotated between left wing, left back. He got tore apart by Wilfried Zaha. Now, Zaha's very, what's the word, up and down. He'll sometimes have a good game, sometimes have a bad game. But why they persist in Ryan with Chris Brunt at left back when he just got tore apart?
It's not surprising that he got tore apart. If you look at Crystal Palace and how they've played this season, they've been very get the ball to the wings, because we have Zaha who can run at people, and he ran at Chris Brunt that game, and Chris Brunt was not up to it. You would think with a Tony Pulis side, like when he was at Stoke, he had a very, very strong team. They liked to battle hard, and nothing happened. It was like they were scared. Crystal Palace come at us, attack us, and that's exactly what Crystal Palace did.
I mean, got an interesting stat here from you, Ryan, that you've put down is that was Bolassi's first goal at Selhurst Park for 1,005 days.
And that was a stat that quite surprised me when I was reading up on this game.
But definitely, yeah.
Considering he's been linked with Tottenham and quite a few top-ish teams in the Premier League, you'd think he would have scored more at his home ground.
I think it's nice to see, and it's frustrating to see at the same time, is how dominant and how strong Crystal Palace look. Because at Newcastle we had, for example, Rolando Aaron, who is a fantastic young, pacey winger. And Pardew didn't seem to fancy him too much. He didn't really ever throw him on much. We had Armstrong, who was quite a quick striker at the end of the season. Again, he was just getting on for 10 minutes. Whilst Pardew was there. And then he seems to have gone to Palace, and he's playing this, as you said, get the ball to the wing and get down the wing, attack, be creative. And I'm quite confused why we didn't do that in Newcastle while he was there, because we had a couple of players. I mean, I know he's dreadful, but Obertan, with the pace, to an extent, he's good at least he's going to get down there and get 10 or 15 crosses a game just because of how much pace he's got. Yet we never really tried to play that way. Now he's gone to Palace, he's actually doing it, and it's working. So fair play to Pardew for that, but on the same hand, why weren't you doing it for us? The next game round was Aston Villa 0, Stoke 1.
Yeah, this was a game where everyone, well, you all know, I'm at the University of Birmingham at the moment. There's quite a lot of Villa supporters on my course. I'm like, we'll beat Stoke quite easily. And I said, a lot of people said, you will not beat Stoke. They've been a good team. They've got good players, like the likes of Shaqiri, Arnautovic, Afellay, some fantastic players. And I've proved them wrong, proved them right, proved them wrong. Not sure what to say. But Stoke, 1-0, quite a bog standard game to say. Wasn't that interesting to watch, but Stoke coming out on top and Villa struggling again.
I think one of the key points I think to make is, as you said there, Shaqiri, Afellay, they signed Glenn Johnson, they've got Bojan, they've got Mama Biram Diouf, and still one of the key players for the squad is the Irish player John Walters.
Yeah,
it's it shows that if you have decent talent and you just keep at it, keep doing what you're good at, you can still have a place in creative sides like the new look Stoke, because Jonathan Wallace is a very Tony Pulis style Stoke City, wasn't he? And he's now adapted.
Battle axe of a player.
Yeah, and he's adapted, and I think it's fair play to him. The next game we're going to go on to was Bournemouth 1, Watford 1. Now, Glenn Murray, Ryan, obviously scored and had a penalty saved.
Yeah, Glenn Murray coming in for replacement of Wilson, ruled out for 6 months. Unfortunately, we're not going to see him, so there'll be no ex-Coventry player announcements on future shows. Thought I'd get it in there for now. But
why you can?
Get it in while I can, yeah. But yeah, Glenn Murray coming in, scoring a penalty, and then missing a penalty. Unfortunate for Bournemouth. But Watford coming in. I think one thing for Watford, what has happened to Deeney?
I think, do you know what, after the people who are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud, if you go to YouTube and search Football Manager Central, FM Central, you can find our previous shows which we've done before it turned into Beyond the Touchline. And we've looked at Deeney throughout this season so far, and I've been critical of his lack of goal scoring and his lack of not creativity, because he creates a lot and he does get a lot of chances, he's just not tucking them away. And it was obviously another game again that he hasn't scored, but I watched more than just the highlights of this game. I watched like an extended highlights package I found online, and it was mainly just so I could see how Deeney performed Ryan throughout the game, and again he actually looked fairly decent. What I would say is obviously their goal came from a blunder at the back from Boric. Now what I would say is Bournemouth play a passing game, Ryan, so this is going to happen from time to time. Mistakes, but this was a dreadful mistake. And what I would say is Harlow, we know what I mean. The composure just to tuck it away. There was no messing around. 5th goal of the season. He is the goals in this Watford team. The Watford look good. They should have lost that game. No doubt about it. Glenn Murray's first goal round I thought was good. He got obviously in the space between the defenders and fantastic header. The penalty was shocking. If I ever get a chance to be a football manager, they're going to get told everything has to go in the top corners. Because I'm sick of seeing penalties stroked and then bottom corners, Ryan. They just saved all the time.
Yeah, there's too much of this. Since Pirlo took that fantastic penalty, it was just wonderful to watch. A lot of people are trying to mask that with these slow penalties that are just stroked into bottom corner or chipped in just over the line to take the keeper off guard. Why not just smash it in the goal, break the net?
So frustrating to watch. So frustrating, especially because Glenn Murray's now going to have on his shoulders to be scoring the goals, obviously with Wilson out. And what's his name? The other guy who's out, who they signed from Saint Etienne. Missing the penalties, just going to dent the confidence a bit. Can Bournemouth stay up? Each week I'm starting to get a bit more confidence in them. Now, is it because they look better, or is it because other teams look worse? That's the question, because the next game we're going to go on to, Ryan, is Manchester City 6, Newcastle United 1. Now, as a Newcastle United fan, this was depressing. We took the lead. Can I first off say he didn't get sent off again? So fair play to
keeping a record.
Yeah, he's doing well. Obviously, I'm quite impressed that he's somehow managed not to get sent off. So Newcastle finished the game with 11 men again. Mouthwich didn't get himself sent off. We controlled first half. I thought we were the better side. We played well. We were pressing. We were teaming up. We were moving as a unit. We were moving as a team. We were tackling well. Colaccini even looked solid. I don't know what McLaren said at half time, but it obviously put the team to sleep. Because it was just dreadful. Now, were Newcastle dreadful or were Man City good? From an outsider's point of view, Ryan, was it just the fact that Silva, De Bruyne and Aguero basically decided they would turn into the best three in the Premier League?
Well, yes and no, because regardless of who you are facing, your defence should not just shut off and shut down like Newcastle did in that game.
I think it's a tough situation because as I was watching it, the goals you kind of sit back and you just think, yep, decent finish. Then the next goal goes in, you think, could have blocked it. But then after that, Aguero, one of his finishes, one where he's edge of the box, he bends it in. It was a beautiful finish. And then obviously De Bruyne just world class to know where the player was when he obviously cut it back across for Aguero to took it away. De Bruyne's goal, obviously, a lot of the commentators have said he meant that. He didn't mean that. I don't care what said. He didn't mean that. He tried to swing and volley it, and it came off the top of his boot and looped over. There's no way he meant to do that, because if he meant to do that, he wouldn't have used the outside of his boot. He would have turned and side-footed it over the keeper. He tried to turn and just hit it with power, and it's obviously scooped off the top.
Luck can sometimes be helpful.
Yeah, oh no, it's definitely lucky, and at the end of the day, every football, you need luck to be successful. It can't all be done on skill. You need some luck. One of Aguero's goals took a big deflection. And at the end of the day, De Bruyne was a class above. Him, Silva, Aguero were just a different class. And if I was Pellegrini, I'd be speaking to Yaya and just saying, yep, good luck. Because you're not getting back. You're not getting back in this side, because you're definitely not playing in the defensive midfield, because you don't know how to defend. So I think fair play to Aguero. I think even as a United fan, Ryan, you're going to say that.
Oh, yeah, and he is a different class. But then, is he going to stop at Man City forever? That's what I keep. Every time I see him playing, I just see him elsewhere in the future.
I think it depends on Benzema, because I don't think he'll end up at Barcelona. Possibly, but if he goes to Barcelona, that will be because Neymar randomly decides to leave. Because then you would have the Suarez, Aguero and Messi. But that would be amazing. But then also, on the other hand, Ronaldo, Bale and Aguero. And then James and Modric, and it's just scary. If only the rest of the Liga was any good, it would be such an amazing league to watch. But unfortunately, La Liga is a dreadful league because half the clubs are basically pub teams. But we're going to the next game from the BPL, which was Norwich 1, Leicester 2. Now, Leicester are becoming a very, very scary team. They are like they're like Crystal Palace, but better in terms of how they play. Ryan, you know, the pace, they're getting down the flanks. I mean, Jamie Vardy scoring again. I mean, is he going to the Euros? Would you take him if you had a choice now?
Now, yes, but then I'd like to see how he keeps performing.
I think I'm on the same. I think at this exact minute I would take him because he has the pace which frightens people. Now against San Marino, he played on the left wing. He didn't look overly impressed, but I think he was quite nervous no matter who he was against. I would like to see someone like Vardy on one wing and Walcott on the other wing, because Vardy is a workhorse. He's just going to constantly keep running. He doesn't have the natural pace of Walcott, but he's not far behind. So them two on the wing, and then somebody, I know he's just come back from injury, but Sturridge already looks like he could just step back in. And Rooney's not scoring. No matter how much I love him, he's not scoring. He's going to have to either drop back or sit on the bench at the minute. But there's not a lot to say on the Norwich 1, Leicester 2, just apart from Leicester again, they're looking like a fantastic side. They never give in, never say die attitude. Vardy obviously scoring. So they bounced back from the defeat to Arsenal, which was the test, Ryan, I think, to see do they have the mental strength to come back from such a heavy defeat.
You would hope, but remains to be seen. It's gonna be interesting to see how Leicester can carry on.
Yeah, see if they can carry on, and just if they slip up again, can they continue to keep coming back and win the following week? The next game, which obviously was Dick Advocaat's last game in charge of Sunderland, was Sunderland 2, West Ham 2. Sunderland were 2-0 up. A fantastic goal from Lenz. Obviously, stupid red card. I have no idea what he was doing there. Dreadful red card. I mean, the first tackle, he'd already started sliding before the West Ham player even got the ball. And then to basically scissor chop somebody when you're on a yellow card, right, it's just clueless.
It's just the Sunderland, what's going on there. They're 2-0 up, and then it just falls to pieces. That's what's been happening to Sunderland this evening. They've just fallen to pieces, and they need to be picked up, shaken, and
stirred.
Try to turn the season around.
I think West Ham will be disappointed by that, but I did know on I watched Fletch and Sav on Saturday on BT Sport, which I'm a big fan of now. It's fantastic to watch on a Saturday morning. West Ham fans were tweeting in saying this is the type of game they would lose. So the fact they got a point, I think, might have actually pleased some of the fans, especially being 2-0 down. I think it shows a great fighting spirit to come back and to finish and obviously finish off with the point. What I would say is obviously Fletcher scored again, Ryan, so that's another Lamborghini for him. But yeah, Sunderland are going down. I think it's just a matter of how many points they can actually accumulate. What I would say is they are due to play Newcastle in 2 games' time. So I've got a feeling if they don't get a manager in the next 10 days, he will sit out the next game, and his first game in charge will be Newcastle, which appears to happen quite a lot recently. So the next game, Ryan, was Jose. It was Chelsea 1, Southampton 3. 8 points from 8 games. No team has ever finished in the top 4, Ryan, after starting with 8 points from 8 games.
Well, you're finding stats better than me.
Yeah, I was watching a football show earlier on this evening.
Yeah, it's not been a good start for Chelsea. In fact, well, you could say terrible, considering they're the champions, or they hold the Premier League title at the moment, and this season it's just been disaster. Their defence is shocking. Ivanovic is past it. He needs to either be sold, dropped, or someone needs to shake him and wake him up. John Terry, I don't know what he was doing in this game. He seemed to fall asleep and not understand the concept of marking players. There needs to be some radical change in defence at Chelsea.
Think the goal, obviously, you mentioned out, John Terry, is the Mane one. I don't know if I assume you would have noticed that, Ryan, that obviously Terry tried to read the situation, but there's a point where when John Terry sets off running, he's not even looking at Mane, he's looking towards the corner flag, and that is at that exact point is when the ball's played, so he's not even got his eye on the ball, and I don't think that's helped the situation. I know he has to set off early because of his lack of pace, and Mane is a very, very quick forward player, but he still seemed quite poor the way he tried to read the situation. And I know Tadic basically tore Ivanovic apart. That guy seriously needs benching. He's just not at the races. I think Chelsea need to give some youth a chance, I think, because the first team definitely doesn't want to step up. I mean, Falcao, I have no idea how he's getting in the team. If I was some of the Chelsea teenagers, I'd be knocking on Mourinho's door going, just give me a chance, I can score more than this clown.
Yeah, and we were saying at the start of the season that Falcao could have done well at Chelsea because of the exploits of Mourinho at Porto when he was there, but it hasn't turned out. And as painful it is to say, I don't think Falcao's up to the Premier League.
And the question is to ask, though, just to end on that game, Ryan, is was it a penalty for Falcao?
undecided. I've seen the replays over and over again, and is the goalkeeper going for the ball? Is Falcao predicting that the goalkeeper's going to come out and he's got to go over his arm and go down? I don't know.
I don't think it's a dive. The more I've seen it, the more it looks like a dive. It's not as bad as Micah Richards. Obviously, there's a point where Micah Richards looks like Superman in that game. But Falcao's wasn't far away. I think it was dreadful. It's again the situation where they go looking for it, and he's already down on his knees near enough at the time, and it's not good to watch. I'm looking forward to this next game. So the next game, Ryan, which I noticed you went quiet, by the way, during this game, was Arsenal 3, Manchester United 0.
I went quiet because I watch the games. I don't talk.
So come on, rant away.
Absolutely shocking. Defensive ability was back to the Man United that we remember of when David Moyes was manager and the start of last season. Matteo Darmian, horrendous game. Daley Blind, horrendous game. Schweinsteiger playing high up the pitch for some strange reason. The gap between defence and midfield was huge. Arsenal exploited it and scored quickly, and the game was over within 20-something minutes. That was it. Second half, few changes.
You seem to have forgot something from the first half. The worst player on the pitch, and you didn't even mention him.
Darmian.
Ashley Young.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was out of position. He was dreadful.
He was, and I knew straight away. And I think I saw someone comment on our Facebook group, Football Centre, saying as soon as they saw Ashley Young at left back, they knew that the game was just going to be a disaster. But the issue is Ashley Young has played left back before, because when Man United were playing this strange 3-5-2, he was playing at wing back, so he should know.
There's a lot of difference between wing back and left back, though. That's the problem.
There is,
because wing
he
back.
should know the concepts of defending. He should know the concepts of marking and positioning. And his positioning on some of the goals, he may as well have been playing centre back rather than left back.
It was dreadful. It was literally just completely dreadful. But I mean, you went down 3-0 quite quickly, so I think it wasn't. What was your thoughts on the second half performance after obviously Van Gaal had a chance to deal with the team, talk to them? Did you feel like they looked like they were trying a bit better, or
they were trying, but nothing come of it? It's all right sending big man Marouane Fellaini to get in the way and battle, sending on Valencia to play right back, but Valencia isn't a right back. He can't cross the ball to save his life.
Running with drilled.
The ball, everything's drilled. Running with the ball, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to dribble down the ring and try and cross it in, and it doesn't happen.
I've got to ask about Memphis Depay. He's just not done it right this season. Obviously, all the big hope. He was the big superstar signing almost in the summer. He almost overshadowed the likes of Bastian Schweinsteiger, and he's just not done it, I'm afraid.
He hasn't. And I'm hoping it's going to be like first season scares, where he's trying to adapt his game to the Premier League, because you're coming from a league which isn't the most physical in the Netherlands. Hopefully over the season he can learn a bit more, go into pre-season, bulk up a bit more, learn a bit more about releasing the ball a bit earlier, because he seems to be a bit ponderous when he gets on the ball. He tries to do a bit too much and take on his man rather than releasing, passing, getting it in the box quicker. Hopefully his game will change, because he can make magic happen, and we've seen it in areas, but in other areas it's like, get rid of the ball, pass it, you don't need to keep it.
I think it's good, as you say, hopefully it's first season issues, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see exactly how that progresses, if he's going to start picking up maybe just near the end of the season. But we'll see, I guess. The next match, Ryan, I didn't actually see this one, so I'm going to rely on you here, which was Swansea 2, Tottenham 2.
I've only seen minimal highlights. So, Swansea and Tottenham. Swansea, a team that were losing a bit of form recently. And then this game, they've sort of picked up and got quite a good point. Christian Eriksen, quite a good game. Andre Ayew, who's had a fantastic season, picking up again at Swansea, only drawing this game. It might give them a bit more confidence to go into their next game and hopefully start picking up some more wins, because they've been dropping off recently. Tottenham, who are, I don't know if you would agree, they're always like, are they going to qualify for Champions League? Are they going to qualify for Europa League? They need to start picking up. Harry Kane needs to start scoring more goals, because last season, if anything, I'm more happy that Man United didn't buy him, with all the rumours saying, we're going to spend 50 million and God knows what else, because he hasn't done it this season for me. But a player that has done it, Jefferson Montero for Swansea. I'm not sure if you'd agree. His season so far has been fantastic.
Yeah, he's just come back from injury yesterday, so it is impressive if I did see a bit of, not highlights, a bit of written report on the game, and he did say that he looked quite impressive considering he'd just come back. I'm just going to quickly fly through the MLS and the French League 1, Ryan, just go through the scores. So you had DC United 2, New York City FC 1, Toronto FC 3, Philadelphia Union 1, New York Red Bulls 2, Columbus Crew 1, Orlando City 2, Montreal 1, Kaká versus Drogba there, Chicago Fire 3, New England Revolution 1, Portland Timbers 0, Sporting Kansas City 1, San Jose 1, and Vancouver Whitecaps 1. Then you had Lille 0, Nantes 1. Is that right? Then Lille 2, Montpellier 0. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. Leon 1, they had a busy day. Leon 1, Reims 0, Angers 1, Bastia 0, Ajaccio 2, Toulouse 2, Nice 2, Nantes 2, PSG 2, Marseille 1. That was the big game there. Monaco 1, Rennes 1, Cannes 1, Saint-Étienne 0, Lorient 3, Bordeaux 2, and I hope Colin, who is a regular host on this show who could not make it this evening, was happy with my pronunciation. But Ryan, we're just going to end quickly by I'll fly through the Bundesliga scores before we stop on the specific game we want to talk about. So it was Darmstadt 2, Mainz 3. I watched that game. It was a very dull start to the game. It was very end-to-end, but it was long ball football. Then randomly, about 10 minutes in, the goals started flowing. Mönchengladbach 2, Wolfsburg 0. So Mönchengladbach are getting into some form. Ingolstadt 2, Frankfurt 0. Hannover 1, Werder Bremen 0. Hertha Berlin 3, Hamburg 0. Hoffenheim 2, Stuttgart 2. And then the big game, Ryan, which was Bayern Munich 5, Borussia Dortmund 1. I mean, that is a scoreline I was not expecting, because I actually thought Dortmund could turn them over.
You would think. You've missed two of the results, but I'll announce them before we go on to it. We got Schalke 0, Cologne 3, Bayer Leverkusen 1, and Augsburg 1.
Oh, sorry.
Now, just not to miss people out, maybe we might have some complaints that we've missed results out. But we can now go back to the big game of the week, the Bayern Munich 5, Dortmund 1. Not a result anyone was expecting. First versus second, Lewandowski continuing that amazing goal-scoring form again.
So, he's having an impressive time. I mean, he did it at Dortmund, and then obviously he's moved on to Bayern, and he's just as clinical. I mean, he is a fantastic player, and Poland are lucky to have a striker who is basically up there at the top. I mean, no disrespect to Poland, but the nation itself is not a footballing powerhouse, so the fact that they have someone like Lewandowski is something to be proud of, I think, Ryan.
It is, definitely, and if he continues this scoring form, Bayern Munich they already are there. If memory serves me right, I think they're 7 points clear already at the top.
think they're more than likely going to win the league. The challenge is who's going down basically in the German league. Now, what I will say is that is the end of the show tonight. I just want to talk people through, people who are listening for the first ever time on iTunes, on SoundCloud. Normally we would review the MLS a bit more because Colin, who is normally one of the hosts, is American, so it is good to have a bit of MLS talk with him. And also he's a big fan of the Bundesliga also, so we do talk a bit more of the Bundesliga instead of just that one specific game. So I hope you've enjoyed us recapping the Premier League from the weekend, just talking about the main topic that Brendan Rodgers was sacked and Dick Advocaat left Sunderland. And we hope you will join us next week for some more football talk on Beyond the Touchline.